this missing scientist case with these people out of Los Alamos. Shout out to Redacted. They're taking a little dive on the lady whose body was just found. She was working at Los Alamos. Shout out to them for doing the research, because I'm just an idiot who reacts to videos. But let's get into this, because I'm curious. Let's hear what they got to say.
Remains of Melissa Casillas were discovered outside of Taos, New Mexico, on the edge of a national park by a hiker this week. Now, Casillas was a high-level assistant at the Department of Energy in Los Alamos National Laboratory and disappeared last June. Here she is. You can see her holding the deer antlers there as well. And this is where she fell. You can see here in this video. And so, why now are we finally just discovering her body? And when friends were there watching this happen, they noticed that she just seemingly disappeared. A friend was talking to her during this hike, and boom, she vanished. Here is a local news.
It's to my understanding that the New Mexico Police Department botched this. She was just found by a hiker a year later, and I guess the police department, I guess they said they couldn't find her, or it was inconclusive or something.
Report that details the finding of these remains. Listen.
10 o'clock. Well, an almost year-long missing persons case has been solved, but now there are plenty of new questions. New Mexico State Police found remains near Taos, and after an investigation, state police then determined they were the remains of missing Los Alamos National Laboratory worker Melissa Casillas. NMSP says they found the remains of Casillas in the McGaffey Ridge area of the Carson National Forest. That ridge is not too far away from where Casillas was last seen. Investigators say a handgun was found next to her body.
Yeah, a handgun was found next to her body. And she was 1 second just talking with a friend, and the next second disappeared, and then they find a handgun next to her body. And also her phone's erased. After that, wallet, car keys were all.
See, these are intriguing to me because, I mean, there's obviously some foul play here. There's something going on. There's some sort of conspiracy. But these people, when they do these things, what exactly is the thought process, I wonder? Because she ends up missing. She was talking to friends. Everything's normal 1 second. The next, she's gone. Then she gets found in the woods with a gunshot wound and a gun just laying next to her, and her phone's erased. So the people who do this, they know people are going to start connecting dots and asking questions about this. So I guess I'm wondering how much of it is to throw people off the trail of who really did it and why. How much of it is incompetence? How much of it is intelligence? How much of it is planned? This is very curious.
Home in her Rancho de Taos home, and her car was left parked outside. Ron James is the director of media relations at MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, and the creator of Accidental Truth Next, the new documentary, which is available on all of those platforms there. The film is, by the way, narrated by Matthew Modine. Ron James joins us here on Redacted. Great to see you, Ron. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back on, Clayton.
My pleasure. I don't want to be hyperbolic with this story because
that's an eccentric looking dude.
A lot of these people went missing at different stages at different times, but this case particularly, along with of course General McCasland, to me stand out as two of the most important stories out of these missing scientists stories. So
I think I covered this in the prior video, but McCasland is the guy who basically oversaw a lot of these huge projects at Los Alamos, but also it was another company that he was working at. He had a high position and he was working over both of them. And that's a very significant disappearance.
What do you make of first of all, what do you make of her disappearance and now this discovery?
Well, there's just too many coincidences going on. I think that making a case that all of these missing people have to do with some kind of widespread conspiracy might be a stretch. But there are definitely major connections between some of these people and reasons that could account for their disappearance. And there's also too many similarities. Where Melissa is concerned.
But see what he just said? You see what he said? That all of these disappearances can't be a coincidence. this goes back to what I was just asking though. Are some of them a coincidence? Are they all a part of a bigger plot to throw people off the actual trail? Are they kidnapping people who don't even matter as far as this case goes? They have no relevance to the situation, but they're taking these people to throw people off the scent of the actual trail. Like, how much of this is planned?
Have someone who disappeared off of a hiking trail and then ends up dead with a handgun found on the scene. We have similar circumstances with General McCaslin. Even though we haven't found him yet, he is on the record as having disappeared with his handgun and going off, and nobody's seen him again. This is Los Alamos National Laboratory, where we're talking about Melissa. This is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where we're talking about McCaslin.
Right. Patterson Air Force Base, but McCaslin had something to do with both Los Alamos and the Air Force Base.
Some of these other scientists are involved with organizations that we know are plugged into researching exotic technologies with possible reverse engineering origins and coming up with science that we believe springs forth from some of these reverse engineering programs. McCaslin was at the top of the ladder. He was the guy with the keys of the kingdom at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And anybody in the UFO community knows how significant Wright-Patterson is in the history of crash retrievals and clandestine programs. Also, a lot of things happen at Los Alamos National Labs. The Department of Energy is well known to be one of the government entities that runs a lot of these reverse engineering programs under the cover of the Department of Energy. And Melissa was a high-level executive assistant, which means that she knew some things. And the fact that her phone was wiped makes absolutely no sense. Why a mother, having dropped off lunch to her kid, is going to disappear, go out into the middle of nowhere and shoot herself. It's another one of those mysteries that I do believe has possible connections.
Well, and the friends who were hiking with her at the time, and who were having a conversation, like with about 30 feet away, just talking, and suddenly they describe her just like disappearing.
Man, I don't know about these friends too. I think I said this in the last video too, but I would look at some of these friends too, because this is just not, if I'm, first of all, I probably ain't gonna go hiking. I'm gonna keep it a stack. Like, these people, they be doing the craziest shit. They go on hiking in a desert trail in Utah with them and one friend at 11 at night and shit. It's like, you want to die, but I would question the motivations of some of the friends. I'm not saying that they had something to do with it necessarily, but it is peculiar because she is not the only one who was with friends or in contact with friends and then just gone. You know what I'm saying? And her friends were actually there with her, and then she's just gone. I don't know, man. It's a little fishy.
Oh, well, that's another one of the missing people, and that was, I think her name was Monica Rizwa.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. So this is not Melissa. This is a separate...
No, this isn't Melissa, but, again, it's eerily similar. And in Monica's case, we know that she had invented a metal alloy that had shape-shifting, memory-retaining qualities. In the first Accidental Truth movie, we point out that nitinol, which is a metal alloy that was supposedly invented by a Naval Weapons Research Lab, really came from potentially debris from the Roswell crash through a group called Battelle Institute. So anything having to do with shape-shifting, memory-retaining alloys, we believe possibly has non-human origins through non-human technology. And she was right there.
We got memory-retaining alloys, but gas is about to be $7 a gallon.
Cutting edge, which means that she had access to materials of non-human origin possibly, and that she was working directly on very top secret programs. And so, and she had a connection to McCaslin, and she disappeared under the same kind of strange circumstances that we lost Melissa under. So yes, there's connections here, Clayton, for sure.
Your joint pain is not random. It's your body stuck in a constant state of inflammation. If you deal with arthritis, you know it's not just a little joint pain. It can feel like constant stiffness, swelling, discomfort, makes everyday movement much harder. Arthritis is driven by inflammation that never really shuts off. keeping your joints irritated, swollen, and constant pain. This is why researchers are taking a closer look at ivermectin. Originally developed as an anti-parasitic, ivermectin has been used safely for decades, and now emerging research suggests it may be helping to calm the body's inflammatory.
Joe Rogan really started something with this ivermectin thing. Ever since he mentioned it during COVID, it's just been nonstop in ads, debates about it. He started a wave.
Response, supporting less swelling, less joint breakdown, and more comfortable movement. The wellness company offers American-made ivermectin tablets, doctor-prescribed and delivered right to your door after a simple online intake form. It's very simple to do. Experience its anti-inflammation potential. Try it today. Go to twc.health/redacted and use the code redacted to save $30 off plus free shipping. Again, twc.health/redacted. And we do know with McCaslin, particularly as we were just talking, that he apparently the night before, as you know, so he has this meeting the night before, a very mysterious meeting, and he was still very plugged in. His wife even admitted that he was not. He was retired, but he really was not retired at all. He was having a meeting the night before, and eyewitnesses with members of the space program, with Space Force. And then he goes missing like later that night or the next day, all very mysterious, on classified briefings. Who the heck exactly knows what he was discussing with members of Space Force like the night before he goes missing?
Well, we know that McCaslin was involved with Tom DeLonge and had given him some information and some inside tracks and areas of investigation to look at. And we know that he had another Twitter profile where he was actually dropping hints about very, very confidential things. And one connection that I'm finding with these people is that they had either an interest in or a potential to become a whistleblower. And what we're looking at right now.
Right. Of course. See, because with these technologies, it's never to benefit the common man, which is most of us. They're going to use these technologies, obviously, militarily, but then beyond that, who knows? Who knows what they know? Who knows what they found out? Who knows what they reverse engineered? And you can almost guarantee that none of it will be used for the betterment of the global population. Right. And so the people working on this, obviously, they're going in, they're signing NDAs and all of this stuff. But they're probably seeing things that would blow people's minds. And not only that, they're being told at some point what they're going to be used for. And they're probably sitting up there thinking like, bro, we're going to use this freaking orb with no proportion, shooting out plasma balls to destroy children villages in Gaza or something. Like, why are we not using this to power cities? And so they probably get to the point where they want to blow the whistle on this. So they try to disseminate the information to the public. And, obviously, you know how that goes. If you're breaching NDAs, the next thing they're going to do with you, especially when it comes to military tech, you're done. You're done. They're getting rid of you. So
a very organized rollout of controlled information by the government, and anybody who could absolutely upset that narrative, is a potential threat. So when we have people that are exploring whistleblowing, when we have people that are leaking information, they become a threat to the narrative. And right now it seems like somebody's trying to clean up the mess.
Yeah.
And all ahead of what we think is going to be some big disclosure from the Trump administration. But who the heck knows? So it seems very strange.
Man, there ain't going to be shit. There ain't going to be no kind of disclosure. Ain't nobody even got arrested from the Epstein files. You think there's going to be disclosure? You think they're going to tell us something we don't already know? The only disclosure we get is, aliens might exist, which they told us, however many years ago, and no one even cared. They ain't disclosing nothing. They ain't not about to tell us nothing we don't already know, unless it's a lie.
These individuals are going missing. They were involved in these clandestine programs. McCaslin particularly was considered, as Burleson has described him, or Congressman Burchett has described him as really a UFO gatekeeper for a lot of this information, whether at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base or otherwise. So you would think you wouldn't.
I'm going to call this one right there. I'm going to make a few more videos on this because I am curious as this thing continues to develop and we're learning different things. Maybe we can get some dissemination here and find out something relevant. But as far as like a large disclosure goes from the Trump administration, that's not happening. So if anybody figures this out, it's going to have to be people like, well, not me, no one watches me, but people like Redacted and people who are on the inside of that. People like Secure Team 10. What happened to that dude? We need more people like that on this. But I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this. So I'm going to do a few more videos on this. But I'm going to catch y'all next time.